Player number one.
I just took a break, okay, and now it's back to work.
Yo, what is up?
Hey, Arvin.
What's up, Michelle? I love that intro so much. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unscripted Intelligence. This is a podcast where we talk about all things human intelligence, artificial intelligence, how they intersect, and how they impact everything from education to the workforce.
On this podcast, we interview innovators, thought leaders, and change makers who are making waves and shaking things up. These are live conversations that are uncharted, unfiltered, as we create the space for what isn't being discussed. And always, these conversations are unavoidable.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and welcome to this episode.
I'm Michelle Ament, co-president of the Human Intelligence Movement and the chief academic officer for ProSolve. The Human Intelligence Movement is a grassroots nonprofit that is dedicated to ensuring that all of us humans have the uniquely human skills that we need to thrive and succeed in our AI-driven world.
My name is Arvin, your other co-host. I'm the co-founder of ProSolve and your adaptability guru. ProSolve is a company that focuses on human skills, all things human skills, developing human skills. We are so excited to be here. And Michelle, what is the series we're in right now?
We are in the Game Changer series, and in partnership with Community EDU and the FETC conference coming up, we have been interviewing and getting to know and being in conversation really big change makers in the ed tech space.
Yes, specifically risk takers and rule breakers that are rewriting the rules, that are rewriting the game, all of the game mechanics, all of the things that we do that we were taught are normal and are okay and should be done, what should not be done. We are interviewing individuals who are changing those rules, making them more fit for an intelligence age. As you guys also know, this is a community conversation, right? So we want you guys who are watching and who are viewing to engage on the comments. Feel free to answer any of the questions that we pose here live. It's not just a conversation for the four of us that are on screen. We want you guys, and you guys have been so good at responding and chatting and kind of connecting with us in that manner. So feel free to hop in and answer any questions. And let's start with this while Michelle is introducing our two guests. Everybody that's in the chat watching, please comment your name, where you're coming from, like where are you viewing from, and any piece of information about yourself so we can have your information there live in the chat.
Look at Dr. Mark. I can't wait, Dr. Mark, to figure out what time we're going to interview you when we are live at FETC and have an unscripted conversation.
Yes, I have become such a fangirl of Dr. Mark. I found his number, I stole it and started texting him, and we kick it oftentimes via the text messages. So Mark, thank you so much for hopping in here. Michelle, do you want to introduce our guests?
I would be thrilled. Okay, so we have two phenomenal women joining us tonight that are game changing in the space of human-centered leadership. First, we are joined by Dr. Amy Jackson, who is the IT project manager for Fairfax County Schools. She was telling me Fairfax has over 200 schools that she works with and serves. And that really shows how Amy is a systems thinker. And as her work, she moves between instruction, technology, and culture, really helping the leaders in Fairfax County School District kind of navigate these major tech transitions. And I know just from talking to Amy that she focuses on the human experience behind all of that change. Amy is here to really talk tonight about how real transformation happens when people are seen, supported, and included. So we are really excited and happy to have Amy with us.
Yes. Welcome.
Next up, welcome, Amy. Next up, we have Dr. Rachel Edoho-Eket, principal of Waterloo Elementary. Rachel is a best-selling author, a trusted mentor to leaders, and she is known for her belief that relational intelligence is the heart of exceptional leadership. Arvin and I had the pleasure of meeting and being in conversation with Dr. Rachel at the Leadership Conference. So we are so excited to talk with her today because we know her work centers on joy and mentorship and community trust. And she is a model of human-centered leadership. So welcome, Dr. Amy and Dr. Rachel.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yes, let's go ahead and get into this. Before we get started, is there anything else that we left out? I know those intros were pretty solid and dense. Is there anything that we left out about some of the work that you do, or anything you think that you want to mention or share to the viewers?
Oh, I didn't know I did all that stuff. So I'm just in awe that I did it. So
I don't have anything to add. I just want to say I love the intro. I thought that was amazing. I was into it as it was going. So that's awesome.
I love it. Same. That intro is one of my favorites, I think, out of all the ones we've done so far. So let me kind of start out with this question I was just thinking of. What are some of the games that you're changing in the work that you do? You two have very different, pathways. What would you describe as the game that you have to play in the work that you do? I know that's a pretty broad question, but let's just kind of use that as kind of a stepping stone. And anyone who else is watching, please feel free to answer this question as well. What are some of the games that you have to play in your role or in the work that you do?
Oh, do we want to start that's hard? For me, I think the biggest game that I try to call out is the respectability game. There's lots of, it has to be done this way because that's the way it's always been done. And in order to be respected in this space, you have to do it the way other people did it. For an example, I was going to be interviewed by the news, and my chief academic officer told me that I had to wear a blazer. And mind you, I have the shoulders of a middle linebacker. So I was like, that's not happening. And she was like, well, if you don't get a blazer, you can't be interviewed. So I was like, I'm not going to wear a blazer, so I'm not going to be interviewed. And at the last minute, they had to find somebody else to have the conversation. And it was like, what is a blazer going to give me? That is it like a superpower? Am I going to put it on and I'm going to be instantly smarter, or no, I'm just going to be uncomfortable. And so things like that, you have to just follow that status quo, I think, is what I always try to push back on.
You raise a very interesting kind of topic perspective point that I think I hope we get time to expound on a little bit later, but I'm with you. I probably wouldn't have wore it either. I mean, I'm literally here in a hoodie, so I'm with that vibe.
But Amy, here's what I got to know is, so the person they found wore the blazer?
Yeah, they found the superintendent.
Male?
No.
Love it.
Oh, okay. But still.
Love it. Rachel.
Yeah.
I don't know if for me it's a game, but I definitely know my work is centering on rethinking the way that we lead as leaders. I'm someone that came up in a very traditionally minded mindset where leaders were expected to do everything, to know everything, to be everywhere at all times. And I think on the back end, what wasn't discussed is how that impacts your family and your home life and even your mental health and wellness. And so now part of my work really centers on talking with leaders about what are some ways that we can lead effectively on our jobs, but also be effective and great at home. And so I wouldn't say that it's a play or a game, but it really is rethinking and evolving in our role as leaders about how we can be good in both places. Because one thing I like to think about is, what does it serve me? What is the point of me being revered or, enjoyed at school if it's not happening in my own house? So that's something that I talk with leaders a lot about, and educators in general. What are things that we can do that will help us take care of ourselves better so that we can take care of everyone else in the best way possible.
I love it. I love it. Such a vital and definitely missed perspective and kind of concept in past times. We've heard about work-life balance, and I feel like that's unfortunately just panned out to be a term that companies or organizations sell that has literally no meaning, right? And so to kind of take that, redefine it, and actually make it mean something, I think is super huge. Michelle, can I toss the question out to you?
Absolutely, because Amy's answer really sparked for me that kind of status quo, or what people assume that you should do. For me, it really is what was about like playing the game of being the smartest person in the room. I always felt like when I was in the space, I was the one that had to carry all the answers. People looked to me to know, and it is very scary when you don't know. And so I would do some of that fake it till you make it kind of thing to try to put on this idea that I did have all the answers, instead of really being vulnerable and kind of looking to the people I was leading to help me find the answers. And I think that part of that is that game of certainty and a way you've always done it and the way it's always been. And so I kind of would put all of that together in one category. What's interesting is Dr. Mark said one of the games that he is playing is a relationship game. But what I appreciate about Dr. Mark is he spun it positive. Where I was kind of thinking of it more as a game, like a negative piece, but he talked about really going deep to understand people and being in that relationship game. And I think there is like an art to that is about listening and asking questions. And sometimes it can kind of feel like a game, but in a really positive sense.
Yeah. What I love about that is you guys are all kind of speaking to this theme, and I think it kind of leads me to ask this question of like, what are some signals, or what are some other signals that tells you that a district is running on a leadership model that is no longer working? What are some signals, some red flags that tell you that a district is running on a leadership model that is no longer working?
That's a tough one.
I know. Y'all, hey, this is your fault. Y'all in here spitting out this good stuff.
Well, I think in general, we are in a large time of transition, and we've been transitioning and evolving for a long time. A lot of that has to do with the way that technology is moving. So I can use that as one example. I know in many districts, when we're looking at AI and kind of how that is evolving with what the expectations are for students and what expectations are for staff and for teachers. A lot of districts are learning not to put policies in stone, but we're doing things like giving guidelines. And so those guidelines are able to be changed and in a faster process than traditionally a policy might take a lot of different steps in order to be crafted, approved, and then set into stone. But as education continues to evolve and change, I think we're seeing more things like guidelines so that we can keep adjusting and keeping up with some of the changes that are happening. So I always look at policies. Sometimes policies are written in stone and they're really good, but there may be other policies that need that updating. And so that's where I think sometimes there might be some blind spots where if we're continuing to have to go back to policies and changing policies, we know that they might be outdated a little bit.
I just, I'll let you go first, Michelle.
Well, no, you can respond to Rachel, because I was gonna throw a kind of something different in.
Okay, so I'll say this. To me, to answer that question, I think you just hit on something that I want to say differently. I think that a strong indicator or a strong red flag that a district is using, or an organization is using a leadership model that is irrelevant in this world, is when there's not a proper culture of curiosity and questioning. You guys know me, I'm big on culture. My role technically is a chief culture architect for ProSolve at this point. And I find that when there is a culture where you're not allowed to ask questions, where you're not allowed to ask, as Amy said, why do I have to wear a blazer? And where when you ask that question and there's not a sufficient answer, but you're just expected to just kind of go with the flow, that is a huge indicator and a huge red flag that whatever that organization is using a leadership model that no longer exists or shouldn't exist. And I'll connect it to what Michelle said, which is this idea, that we should be able to ask questions, and when there's not answers or the answers are insufficient, then there should be conversation about it. Like, why are we not allowed to talk about it, and why do we just have to go with the flow?
Danielle mentioned lagging indicators, high rates of employee turnout and burnout, and I think employee turnover and burnout. And I think, Arvin, that's exactly what you're talking about. When the culture is not high performing, is not healthy, is not psychologically safe, people start to want to leave the system, look for a different role. And one of the what came to mind when you asked that question was the backdoor conversations, or the closed door conversations, the ones that's like, come in my office, let me close the door and we'll have a conversation about what's happening, instead of transparency about what is happening. And knowing that anything that you're saying is in the best interest of the organization, and regardless of the person in the room, the conversation benefits and moves the system forward. Now, I know there are times and places for private conversations, but you guys know what I mean, that it's almost like back channeling that can happen. And I think that's a sign of an unhealthy culture that is really sparked from the lack of psychological safety and the lack of transparency. Amy, what do you think?
Oh, that's right on. I think for me, it's when you notice that the people who are above efficiency and all about optics are the ones who consistently get promoted. And then, like, the culture is, if you follow the rules and you're quiet and everything's okay, you can move up. But the moment you start to challenge that, or you become curious about things, it's, you hear it all the time, they're really good with their work. Like, they're really good at what they do, and it's always like that, but is never something negative. It's always something where you're like, well, I thought you wanted people who were going to come in and move us forward. I thought you wanted people who were going to come in and say, we're doing it this way, but are we doing it that way because it's best for kids? Right. Are we doing it that way because it's the best way to do it that we know how? And not that the way that we've been doing it isn't best. It just means that times have changed and we have to change with it. Yeah. And so pushing that forward, I think that's what I always look for in a district, is how frequently do they pull people from outside? Because if everybody has always been in the same space, you're going to do that same thing over and over and over again, because that's just the whatever district way, right? And you hear that all the time. Well, that's just this district way. And you're like, yay, let's not.
I agree. Having those voices are so important, because sometimes we can be our own echo chamber. And I think a lot of what we're talking about today is also about trust. Like, do we trust each other enough to be honest when there are shortcomings? Because no district is perfect. No leader is perfect. No system and organization is. And we all have blind spots when we're working, especially if we've been in our districts a long time, or if there's that tradition there. And so it is such a value, as Dr. Jackson said, to have people coming in from outside of our organizations that can give us new perspectives and new things to consider.
Well, and you're talking a lot. What I'm hearing is group think, and that becomes pervasive in organizations, in school districts. And so how do you be interrupters of that group think? How do you start to change the game and push in places that needs to happen through curiosity, through innovation? Alan mentioned one of the culture triggers is they shut down innovation. And that's that whole, we've always done it this way, blocker, I think, right there. Yeah. Some other things that are being said around psychological safety is huge for job retention for teachers, especially. And I think we're seeing Danielle mentioned today, she mentioned just this idea of often our educators were high performers who aced their classes and did really well in school, but maybe didn't have to put a lot of effort in or frequently failed. And so I think we in education, what I've been thinking a lot about lately is we continue to perpetuate the same groupthink, the same way we've always done it. And as educators, if that's true, we were high performers, school came easy, we rarely failed. That's kind of the safety conditions that we want to continue to create. And I know, Arvin, you're just dying.
Yeah, I'm my whole mind is just thinking about this statement, a couple of statements we said in a couple other podcasts. It's this idea of like we are raised and trained in a system that doesn't value curiosity or questioning the status quo, and we're taught that as a kid, like the teacher knows everything, right? And that teacher was taught that a teacher knows everything. You know, when you're raised that way, you grow up through school that way, and then you go to higher education, and that's also a foundational part of values. And this is just me. My lens is all about culture, and it's, you know, a shared a group of values or beliefs shared amongst a common group of people. And when we're talking about specifically in education, that's what we see. We see this idea that that is highly valuable. And this idea is that the person, the sage on the stage, needs to be just that. There better not ever be a moment where you do not know the answer to something or you don't know the right thing, right? And so it translates then into the backside of the organization to where if a leader, you know, has been told you have to wear a blazer in front of every media opportunity, like, why would you even question that? Like, how dare you? You are offending me because your question is implying that what I'm doing could potentially not be the best idea. That what I'm perpetuating could potentially not be the best idea, and that's what we're seeing right here live. And that's I think that's like the common theme and thread throughout all of this. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Jovan said, stepping out of the comfort zone or routine can be intimidating, but the possibilities on the side are really limitless, which I would agree with. And then Dr. Mark also agrees with that and says the answers we are looking for are not found in our comfort zone. And isn't that a truth? Like the times when you got pushed out of your comfort zone, the amount of learning and the amount of about others, about yourself, about the world that happened. And I think about that with our schools, like how do we create the conditions for kids to be pushed and have productive struggle and be out of their comfort zone, and also for teachers and administrators. And Ainsley Hill said the same thing, like, why is it so hard for us to model failure when we preach to students that that's okay? And I think all of this comes together, this productive struggle, this comfort zone, this idea of failing and risk taking. And we do talk about fail forward, yet our education system is so scared to allow for failure. And I keep asking that question because I keep trying to figure out what is getting in the way of modeling this for students.
Yeah.
I love that.
Sorry, go ahead, Amy.
No, you go.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say a lot of what we're focusing on, and to Ainsley's point, is about that vulnerability. Like you mentioned, Dr. Michelle, like we have to get to a place where we admit we don't have all the answers, where we say, I have said all the time, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. That is a very powerful statement to make, especially when people are expecting you to be perfect. And I think when we as leaders and educators can model that it's okay that we don't know everything and that we are learning, then that will model that for our students. I know even with my students today, I'll say I make mistakes every single day. Mistakes are a part of learning. I have learned much more through my failures than I have through my successes. And I think most people are like that. If we each look across our lives, it was the times when something didn't work out, where we had to get some grit, where we had to do some soul searching to really figure out our next steps. And that is actually how you build confidence. And I say that to kids all the time. You don't necessarily get confidence by getting the answer right every time or by doing things perfectly. You gain confidence by making mistakes, figuring out what you need to do to solve it, and coming out better on the other side. And I think if we have more conversations that are honest and open like that, then we will be better trainers of the students that are going to inevitably fail. Failure is a part of all of our lives. We can't run from it. We learn and we move forward.
I love it.
I'm going to be controversial for a second. Everybody is taught, like one of the questions that Dr. Zillier asked was, how do we be interrupters? And I think that we have to actually acknowledge the fact that a lot of women and underrepresented groups, when they get into leadership, they are put on a glass cliff, like Michelle Ryan and Alex Haslam said. Like whatever they're coming into is already failing, right? If you're a turnaround principal, you're put into schools where it has always been a history of failure there, and you're expected to turn it around in 2 or 3 years. And what comes with that is that people don't like change. Change is uncomfortable, and it's supposed to be uncomfortable. And so when you go in and you're at that cliff and you're looking at the fact that I am sitting on failure right now, how do I get out of this? What do I do? I'm sacrificing myself on a daily basis. I'm trying to know everything. I'm trying to get to know everybody. I'm trying to make sure that people see that I have value beyond this crisis management mode. So you live your life in crisis management. You live your home life and your work life in that same mode, because you can't turn it off when you get home because you're still running. And then when we get into those groups, you tell yourself as you're going to the meeting with the superintendent or, the executive director, okay, I've got to know all this stuff that they're going to ask me, and I got to be prepared for this and this and this. And you get in there and you say one word wrong, and the next 30 days, you're thinking to yourself, oh, they don't think I'm smart. They don't think I know what I'm doing because I made this small error in this place. And we talk a lot about being able to fail forward, but we know that that's a lie. When you are put in a horrible situation to lead something that has not been successful before, you cannot fail forward. If you fell forward, you just fell, and you are punished for that over and over and over again. And we have to be real and say, when we do that both in the workplace and in the classroom, when a kid does not get an answer right, we don't pat them on the back and say, good job for failing. We give them a 0, right? Yeah, when we say to them, you're supposed to be doing this way, like we're going to do new math. Well, if I don't understand new math and I want to do old math, if I get to the answer, why do I have to do it that way? Why am I being punished for doing it a way that doesn't make sense to me? So as they say all the time, by the time kids get to middle school or high school, we've sucked all the ingenuity and all the excitement and curiosity out of them, because we're like, no, this is the way you play school. And we take that and we play work with it. And so you go into work and you say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Got it. Roger that. I'm on it, boss. And then you go in your office and you call your friends and you cry and you toil and you say, I want to do it this way, and it would be so much better if we did it this way, but I'm not going to be the one to say do it differently, because everybody else at the table was like, heck yeah, that's a great idea, but you're all doing the same thing because you don't want to get in trouble. And as adults, if you're afraid to get in trouble at work, is that the best place for you to be? Because as my grandma would say, who's gonna whoop you? Like, you gonna get a whooping at work for being wrong? Like, I mean, what are you afraid of? Like, you're afraid to talk to the same people that you're an adult with? And you're like, well, yeah, because while they can't physically hurt me, they can blackball me. They can stop me from growing. They can stop me from moving. Just like kids see in the classroom, if I make too many mistakes, I'm not going to get accepted for gifted and talented. I'm not going to get to go to an IB school. I'm not going to get to do AP. I'm not going to get to go to basketball or this sport. So it's a perpetual system. The system is built this way. And until more than 2 people in a room say, I don't like it, we're not going to fix it, because the system was built for it to be this way.
Okay. First of all, mic drop after mic drop. Jenna, you're going to have to figure out how to cut that up into that. Just fire mic drops. Michelle, do you want to read some of the comments before I?
Yeah. Well, first, I just have to say the emotion, through your talking, Amy, I was in that chair. I was in that place. I saw that happen. Like, you just really you painted the picture of reality is what I would say. And I think you framed the problem and the systemic problem. The last thing you said is the system was built this way. And I just, I do want to read some comments, but I just commend you for the articulation of not only the story, the experience, but also the framing of it.
I want to pause on the comments, and Dr. Rachel, do you have anything you want to add to that before we hop into the comments?
Well, I agree with Dr. Jackson in the sense of there are definitely times when people are placed in positions to fail and are expected to do these really amazing things. So I just appreciate you lifting that up, because I think there is some misunderstandings around what's possible and what's not. And especially if it hadn't been done before, that pressure point is real. And oftentimes it does land on women leaders to do some of that work, and change is hard. So I just wanted to lift that up, but amazing. Yeah.
Love it.
Just, Arvin, a couple of things. I think this speaks. Danielle says, they can't, like Amy, you said, they can't whoop me, but they can kill my career. They can kill my ability to support my family. And I think that is real fear. And when we talk, goes back to psychological safety. I mean, I have been in a role, I don't know about the rest of you, but I have been in roles where I have fear that I could lose my job. And then what am I going to do next? Because I need to support my family. I don't want to lose my career. Yeah. Dr. Mark said the emotion from the group comes from the fact that Dr. Jackson and Dr. Edoho-Eket both get it and understand what educators and students are dealing with.
I love it.
Students enter with a lot of enthusiasm for learning and wind up exiting with no passion left. And we suck that out of kids.
Yeah.
That idea of this is the way we play school.
Yeah. I just want to point out, as we're talking, I have a large part of my career has been in professional development for educators in the K-12 space. And, I spent roughly 9 years doing PDL across the US. And I would oftentimes go back to schools with the same teachers there. And every year I would see a little bit more of them dead on the inside. Every year I'd go back, I'd see a little bit less fire on top of their head. Every year I'd go back, I'd see a little more exhaustion just weighing them down. And, like our programs and our professional development was super fun, super lit, super awesome, and so we'd see that fire light up again. But as we're walking out of the door, we'd see them have to go back to their normal everyday classroom. And so I think this is so spot on. It's not just a matter of the system destroying and removing the fire in our students, but we're also seeing it happen to our teachers, where we're seeing a system that does not support the development of that fire and that desire, that drive. So kind of a question that I'm thinking of now is, in your roles, you guys are both leaders who are redesigning and building what leadership should look like from the inside out. My question to you is how do you create conditions for success for the people that you lead when the system around you is kind of very antagonistic to the very nature of what you're called to bring into the spaces that you're in?
Do you want to go, Dr. Rachel?
Sure. I think, first of all, I can speak to school leaders. Part of our work is really trying to support teachers. And we know that when teachers are supported, then students are supported. And you're right, there are a lot of challenges that are happening from all sides. Teachers have a lot on their plates, as do families and students. And so one of the things that we try to think about are what are some ways that we can support teachers and staff on the school level. And some of the things are just basic things that we do, making sure that our teachers feel supported, checking in on them, asking them how they're feeling, taking time, meetings away, trying to protect the time of teachers and staff members. giving people opportunities to work within their own strengths, because that's a big one too. There are some challenges, but there are amazing things that are happening inside of our schools every single day. And part of that amazing work is when we as the adults have opportunities to really shine in our areas of strength, and then letting students have that opportunity to also work within their strengths and shine. And we have at our school, we have fifth graders who are helping to mentor younger students throughout the day. And that's one of my favorite things to see in the building, is seeing our student leaders begin to rise up and support other children throughout our building. So there are great things that are going on, but it does take a level of intentionality to make sure that our teachers and staff, first and foremost, feel supported by us as leaders. And then there's that open communication where if something isn't going well, then we can act as advocates across multiple levels to try to meet the needs however we can.
Okay, I have to hop in here before we move on to you, Dr. Amy. I just have to point out, Rachel, what you just said can be summarized as the first part of it was all about connection. You said reaching out to the teachers and individuals on the ground and kind of making sure they feel supported. And the second part was all collaboration. I just have to highlight that your response to that question, and Jenny, can you pull up the question again? Your response to that question is all human. My first thought was, oh, here's a system that we can create, or here's a tool we can use. Your response was human. Your response was human connection, human collaboration, human communication. And I feel like that is why you're here on this podcast right now, because the core of how you tackle something as impossible as creating conditions for success in an environment where success and thriving is not necessarily promoted. Your approach, your response is so human. And I don't think an AI robot could do that at all.
AI does help. It can help with some of the systems, but I agree with you. I think at our basic level, we have to have a feeling of connection with the people that, I mean, just think about how much time do we spend with the people we work with every single day? I mean, our students are with us hours and hours, sometimes longer than with their families. So those connection points, every hug, every pat on the back, every tap on the shoulder, are you okay? You're telling me you're okay, but I can see in your eyes you're not okay, right? So that's the human touch piece that we all need. And it's very interesting because online you might see a different persona, or it's hard to tell, even though we seem very interconnected, we can be very disconnected from a technology standpoint. So those touch points really make a difference.
Yeah, I want to go to you, Dr. Amy, but I just have to just say this is, and for everyone who's watching, please answer this question as well. We're going to leave it up on the screen for a little bit. How do you create conditions for success in an environment and a system that does not truly promote true success? Dr. Amy.
So I had a mentor tell me, she put it into words for me, something that I understood but didn't know how to articulate. The people are the work, and the work is the people, because I am a type A personality. Like all of my Clifton strengths are about getting it done. And like, I have like one blue in the top 5 and all the rest of my blue is in the bottom. Like, and I know that about myself. So one of the things that I try to do whenever I start with a group that I'm going to lead is I like to give them the SCARF model by Dr. David Rock. And it talks about status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And it's basically, how do they respond to change? How do they respond to relationship? And then once I know that, I'm able to say, okay, if I'm getting ready to change something and this person is about certainty, I have to plan it so well that they can see it. They've got to be able to feel what it's going to be like at the end. There can't be any gray to it. Or if they've always been, one of the big things that you see a lot in especially central office leadership is, I'm the SME in my area, right? I'm the subject matter expert. This is my domain, and everybody has to listen to me because I'm the one who's going to know how to do it. And usually what you find is that those people feel that in a room, their place is built on the status that they've built. And it's like, yes, you're the subject matter expert in that thing, but without the rest of this picture, your subject matter expertise doesn't matter. And if your subject matter expertise is going to diminish my subject matter expertise, then we don't have the culture to get things done. We don't have the ability to show those who we're supposed to be leading, the teachers, that we thought about them when we were sitting at this table and building this system that they're not a part of. And so being able to sit and say, you know, what is the vision? Do we have all the pieces of the vision aligned so that people understand we've thought it all through? And if we didn't think it all through, are we willing and able to send this out to people and say, this is what we have? Give us your true feedback. I like to tell people when I ask them for feedback, don't correct my grammar. I have tons of systems to do that. I've got spell check. I've got AIs. What I need you to do is look at this document and correct my content. Tell me if I got it right. Because if you don't tell me I got it right and you tell me that I could use a Oxford comma here instead of a period, that means nothing to me. Because what I do know is that when I push this out, nobody's looking at the commas. They're looking at, did she understand what I needed? I haven't been in the classroom since 2013. I can't pretend that I know what it's like to teach a class right now. So I have to depend on the people who are actually doing the work every day, because I can either be smart or I can be intelligent. Being smart means I know what needs to be done. I'm in the room and you say something wrong and I tell you you're wrong. Being intelligent is being able to be in the room and know you're wrong, but still being able to help you navigate through that so we get to where we're supposed to go without me being right. And so I like to ask people all the time, do you want to be right or do you want to do it right?
Okay. You are just a bar dropper. Just that's gonna be your nickname, a bar dropper. Michelle, Dr. Michelle, I want to toss this question to you really quick, but before I do that, I gotta say this. Dr. Amy, you just gave me permission to be a very terrible person. I want you to know that. I have the worst grammar ever, and I have caused probably several aneurysms in Michelle's life in the last 3 years of her knowing me. You just gave me permission to say I don't care anymore. That doesn't matter. But also, what I really wanted to say was this: you're even the comment about the grammar piece. I feel like there's something here that I have to mention. I could be wrong, but I do feel like there are actual people who, if they read something that you posted or that you've created and there are grammatical errors, it doesn't just irritate them, but they invalidate your entire perspective and experience and credibility. And so I feel like even the stance is you're saying it from a perspective of efficiency. I don't need you to worry about grammar. I need you to worry about this. But I think that stance in itself, the additional benefit is you're challenging a system that I feel like is so antiquated and outdated. My spell checker can check my grammar. That's not an indicator of my intelligence.
Right.
I love
it.
Right.
And we teach kids, the literacy teacher in me says you still have to worry about grammar. Okay.
Yes.
Michelle, Dr. Michelle, I'm going to do that for you. But what we teach kids is that there's a process to writing. And if I'm sending you my rough draft, I don't need you to critique it like it's my final. I need you to help me revise and edit it. And so that's what when we talk about breaking the status quo, that's the thing. I don't want that minimal, I'm in the document showing that I was looking. I want you to really dig in and say, that's not going to work. The reason it's not going to work is because my teachers aren't at this place. My teachers need this support. My teachers need these things because our kids need these things, not your preferences. And so I think that's the most important thing. If we're asking kids to follow the writing process as adults, that's how we also have to follow innovation because it's a process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're hearing Dr. Mark talking about what, in order to have feedback, give us your feedback. One of the things that we need to have is trust. That those we're asking for feedback trust that we are going to receive it well, and that we are going to use it and apply it towards what we're working for. And I think that's so important. I think for me, creating the conditions needed, I think about two things that tie kind of what you both were talking about. One is that human connection, really getting to know others and being socially aware of who they are and what they're bringing into the room or bringing to the table. I think another is like, so it's building these human skills of social awareness, but also a lot of intrapersonal skills, my own self-awareness, my own self-regulation. So as humans, really, really being in tune to how we interact with others, but also how we live ourselves. I think about what you said, Amy, around how you get to know who the people are and what they need. And then you think about how do you bring that to the conversation. And that, I mean, that is adaptability at its finest. And, you know, we have done a lot of work with, I've done a lot of work with like personality inventories and strengths finders and all of that. And a recent one that we've used is the Enneagram. And I know that Arvin is an 8 and I am a moral righteous 1. And you better believe that we know each other's strengths and weaknesses and how to show up, give each other feedback. And also times where I know how, when he comes at me, it's his 8, and I don't take that personal. I'm not doing a very good job here, Arvin. You could help me.
You're good. You're good.
There's like something I'm trying to paint a picture of really knowing who people are and appreciating them for who they are, and then thinking about how you show up with them because you want to be adaptable and you want to meet them where they are.
Valuing each other. That's like what Dr. Amy was saying as well. It really is more than just acceptance. Accepting someone is one thing, valuing them is another, right? So if you're valuing someone, you want their feedback. If you're valuing someone, you're actually listening to them and will make some moves after the feedback that you hear. That shows that you're valuing someone. It goes much long beyond, you know, like you said, Michelle, you're different than Arvin. You acknowledge that, but that's not where it stops. It is, he has something to teach you and you have something to teach him, and your complementary strengths work together so well. You all have this amazing platform together. Yeah. So when we value each other, and the same thing with our students, when we are valuing what our students are bringing to the table, then we can do so much more. When we value our teachers and staff, same thing.
Yes, I'll just point this out. What Michelle was not saying is when our first year of working together was horrible. We struggled very hard. It was a very big culture shock. We had some very, very tough moments. But I can stand confidently today and just tell you guys, I have never enjoyed working with another human being more than Michelle.
We can tell.
Be more different. And so much so that my wife calls Michelle my work wife. It used to be Travis, my co-founder, and it's somehow shifted to Michelle being my work wife, and my wife is totally okay with it. So yes, but the Enneagram was a huge piece of that, and kind of understanding, it's that inventory. And like you said, Dr. Amy, it's do I care enough to actually take into account, do I value enough to take into account how this person is going to hear or process something that I'm doing? I'm the subject matter expert. So I technically, no matter what I say, what I'm saying is going to be correct in this instance. But if I want to introduce, if I want to really create the conditions for success, right, I have to bring the human element into it, and I have to begin to value and take into account how you're going to receive what I'm saying. And I think that is not only what's been missing on the organizational side of the back end of our school system, but also in the classroom, right? We saw a massive trend of gamification and flipped classroom. And I mean, I did PD throughout all of this stuff, and certainly we talked a couple episodes ago about false innovation, right? We took this concept of speaking the language of the students, and we didn't do it right, because what did? We had subject matter experts making all of the content and all of the shifting and changing, and we never really took into account, what our buyers, our students, were actually wanting, or actually saying, and actually speaking. So spot on.
Okay, there's a question in the chat that I want to answer, because Arvin and I talked about this when we spoke the other day. Alan Hilsebeck put, what if you value them and are wanting their feedback, but they do not value you? And I said it to Arvin in our
Yeah.
conversation, people are going to like you or dislike you regardless of what you did. Within the first 5 minutes of meeting you, they have determined what they feel about you. And if you hinge your entire leadership on people pleasing, you are doing the exact opposite of what people need. Nobody wants a people pleaser. They want somebody who understands them and will move towards them. So you may not value me, but because I value you, I'm going to do the work that supports you, even though you don't care that I'm doing it. And you might not ever acknowledge that I did it, but I know what I did. And integrity is hard because everybody wants you to have integrity until it comes to them, right? And so it's okay for people to not value you back. Like, this is not a reciprocal relationship. And I think sometimes we get into parasocial relationships when we're in leadership where we feel like the people that we're leading are our friends or they need to value us in return. And that's not going to happen because you can't make everybody happy in a leadership role. And if you are making everybody happy all of the time, are you truly leading them?
Bar. I love it. Before we kind of shift too far, because we are running out of time, I have this one question that it's just been burning on my heart to ask you all. If the next decade, let me rephrase that. If we want to see proper leadership within the next decade, what is one belief or one skill that we need to embrace or shift to or adopt if we want to see true leadership come out or be prevalent in the next decade? What's one belief, one skill that we need to adopt or we need to shift to? Everyone in the comments, please hop in. I feel like y'all are gonna have some great answers to this. Let's toss it out there.
I think for me, it's definitely relational intelligence and also empathy. Like, people need to have a willingness to have an understanding of someone else's perspective. And I think what is challenging now is we become so myopic. We only are seeing our versions of our lives or our school communities or our districts or our things. And I think if we're going to continue to lead people in a positive way and to continue to grow and to go into the next generation, we have to be able to understand multiple perspectives, that there is not one correct way to do things, that there are multiple pathways to get to different places. And I think once we open that up, we'll see better progress being made, but we cannot have a tunnel vision for this work. We have to understand that there are multiple ways to support students. There are multiple ways to support our staff and teachers and our families. We have to be creative. Now is the time to be creative. There's a lot of restrictions that are happening. So we have to think outside the box for a lot of different things to continue to meet the needs of everyone that we serve. So I would say we definitely need more empathy. We just have to have an understanding and want to understand someone else's perspective.
Love it, love it, love it. Tossing it to you, Dr. Ament.
So I think that we have to remember that education is our industry and people are our business. And when we start to really lean into that, then I think that's when true leadership will start to focus on getting things done and moving forward. Everybody is valuable in a situation. Every opinion is needed, whether you agree with it or not. Like Dr. Rachel was saying, it's just a matter of we have to have multiple perspectives to move forward. And if we don't, we can't.
Yeah. I would say, Arvin, that we need to stop solving problems with technical solutions and think about what the human-centered problem is. Every problem, there is a root cause of a human is missing skills, they're not feeling valued, they're not, something human is at the center of everything. And so how do we start to drill down to find that as our root cause to solve for, instead of trying this initiative, that initiative, this new cause as the way to problem solving?
I love that. I love that. I would add my 2 cents being, if we really want to see true leadership arise in the next decade, one skill, one belief I think that needs to shift is the idea, or is the difference between what we currently define as soft skills shifting to being more relevant. These durable skills that we hear talked about now, this concept of things that we used to think did not matter and were irrelevant and were squishy are actually now so much more important than they ever have been. And so I think that with leadership, it's not just a matter of education, right? But the idea, like even in our company, of going to school for 6-8 years and getting a degree or a doctor or whatever, no offense, but that is not an immediate indicator that this person is going to be successful at this role anymore, because this specific role has changed in the last 5-10 years. It's going to change in the next 6 months. So it's this idea that durable skills, skills that we used to find less value in are now more valuable than ever. That's the shift that I would need to see. Michelle, do you want to read some of the comments that answering that question?
Yeah. Alan says, move on and find a system that move on and find a system that does have a need, build a framework that meets and exceeds their need, and become a true game changer. So education, just echoing some of your quotes. I love this one. Education is our industry and people is our business. Let's see. We're kind of running out of time, Arvin, and I still want to hear what Amy and Rachel are doing at FETC. So should we start to wrap things up?
Yes, please. Let's start with Dr. Rachel. Tell us what you are doing at FETC. It is coming up very, very, very quickly here. What do you got going on, and what can people hop into to hear more?
Awesome. First of all, thank you for having us. This has been an awesome conversation. I am really excited for FETC this year to be one of the featured speakers. I'm going to be talking about boundaries before burnout. That's my signature topic. And I think we all need to hear ways that we can collaborate on how we can, do our jobs well, but also be whole mind, body, and spirit. And then I'm also going to be talking about how we can connect with families in a very meaningful and engaging way, and having some new pathways for families that may need it. And then I'm also talking about the power of mentorship and how mentors have helped to shape my life, and how we then are stepping into mentorship roles now to support new and up and coming educators and leaders.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So excited for those. Y'all make sure to hop into some of her sessions. Dr. Amy, what are you doing at FETC?
I will be talking about changing by design. So basically going in and how we go through the change management process, the Cotter model, different things, and then also talking about crossover leadership. So going from instructional to technology, or technology and instructional, and what you need to do to be able to do that. The most important one that I'm talking about, though, is a leadership roundtable, where I talk about protecting, promoting, and partnering with marginalized leaders, because that is very important to get that different perspective at the table, not just sitting there, but contributing as well.
Nice.
Michelle, what are we doing at FETC?
Oh my gosh, we're doing so many things, Arvin. So we have multiple sessions. We have one that's called The Future is Human, and Arvin and I are putting together a dynamic session on unavoidable truths, and it'll be the first. It is. I'm so excited. It'll be the first time together in person that we're going to bring unavoidable truths forward. We have a session on building an app and a tool to be able to solve problems through that human-centered lens. We have a happy hour at the Hampton Social Monday night, January 12th. From 5:30 to 7. Anyone attending FETC is welcome to join us. We are partnering with MGT, ERDI, ClassLink, and Newt. So it's going to be a great bash. So Jenna will be dropping some links in the chat so you can sign up for that happy hour. And we are going to be live podcasting. So we are going to be interviewing change makers and movers and shakers on the exhibit hall floor. So we are looking for people to join us in a conversation at FETC.
Yes, I will also say the Game Changers, the meetup, the happy hour, it is actually going to be lit, if you know what I mean, wink, wink. So literally, it's going to be fun. We've got a whole gamified interaction system that we're building into it. You're not going to be affected by drinking at all. Of course, everything's going to go as we planned. You're going to be able to think critically at all of the puzzles. And
making it out like there's going to be drinking games.
There might be, maybe not, if we can get it approved. No, but make sure to hop into all of our amazing sessions. Really quickly, we got a couple seconds left. Dr. Rachel, can you tell everyone how they can find you on social media? Where can they follow you and learn more about your journey?
Awesome. Thank you. You can find me at racheledoho-eket.com or at Rachel Edoho-Eket right here on the screen at all my socials, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Looking forward to connecting with everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Amy. Where can they find you and keep up with the work you're doing?
You can find me at amyljjackson.com, or you can find me on X as Tech You Very Much, or LinkedIn.
I love it. I love it. And as you guys know, you guys can find us on pretty much everywhere: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, LinkedIn Live, YouTube. We also have a TikTok where we post a bunch of these little clips on, and Instagram as well. Shout out to Jenna. You are literally the most amazing producer that we could have ever asked for. Also, something brand new to just kind of end off with is you can actually sponsor this podcast. Jenna is going to post a link in the chat. If you are interested in sponsoring this podcast and learning more about that, on how you can partner with us and how we can partner with you to get your message and your brand out, you can totally click that link to do so. It's a pretty good setup. Many people love it. Michelle, what is happening on our next episode? And then we'll close out.
Yeah, Game Changer series is continuing next week, December 18th at 6 p.m. We have 3 amazing guests on the show: Tim Needles, Kim Abel, and Dr. Jorge Valenzuela. Do you know them? Anybody know them?
Mm-hmm.
I know George. Yeah, he's awesome.
Is it George? Okay. Yeah, I haven't met George before.
I may have said it wrong, but yes, he's awesome.
And I've met Tim, and I'm super excited to meet Kim as well. So another amazing group of game changers next week with us. And then we'll be all in Orlando for the big meetup.
Yes. Thank you again, Dr. Amy. Thank you again, Dr. Rachel. Thank you again, Dr. Michelle. Thank you, all of you who are watching live and have commented. This has been a lively discussion. We will see you all next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.